If you look across the people who did great inventions, the research they carried out on those people figured out that when they were kids, their parents raised them in a certain manner. It was said that Albert Einstein was given a compass when he was a kid. So even though he flopped school, there was a type of emotion that he developed intelligently when he was a kid, working with those compass. And the rest of his life, he started doing physics. The same thing to Maria Curie. They said that the father had a laboratory, but one day the lady came into there and she was transfixed by the things she saw, and they ran her rest of her life in the laboratory. Both of them win another prize. Programming. What are you programming your kids with? Nonsense things on the television. That's what you're programming them. How a young man have gone to school, graduated, and didn't have a job, is suffering, and saw a girl he wants to marry, and the girl is not accepting. All of a sudden, somebody employed him, he bought a car and bought a job, and then the girl accepted. Stupid program. Useless program. Useless movies. Why faith parenting is part of the reason we are going backward in Africa. Before I share my view, I would like to read you a paragraph of words from one of the most highly revered behavioral scientists of the 1920s, known as John B. Watson. He did an experiment known as the Little Abbott experiment. You can go read that up later. But that was something that he built up on what the Russian psychologist Ivan Pavlov in 1800 came up with when he tested a dog to know if he can condition a dog to behave in a certain way. And he proved success, and they later called it classical conditioning. And what I mean is that every single one of us are product of programs. Whether you are 5 years, 10 years, 20, 40, 50 years, you are a product of programs you have received over the years from your parents, from your school teachers, from your peers, from the society entirely. That is what makes you up. In fact, we know for sure right now, based on empirical research, that 95% of what we do is based on unconscious behavior. And what that means is that each and every one of us, we act today the way we acted yesterday. And there's a probability and possibility that we are going to act the same way tomorrow, because we have been programmed to behave in a certain way. The only way to bypass that is to break the shackle of what you have learned, to deprogram yourself. So before that, I'll share more views on this. Let me read this thing from John B. Watson. And this is what he said. Give me a dozen healthy infants, well-formed, and my own specific word, not word, but a space, to bring them in. And I will guarantee to take anyone at random and train him to become any type of specialist I might select. Doctor, lawyer, artist, merchant chief, and yes, even a beggar man and a thief. Now, what John B. Watson came to figure out in his experiment is that you can literally take any infant and condition him or her to behave in a certain way, and that person will never break out of that behavior until he dies, except by some sort of grace and somebody comes into that person's life and help him to break that pattern of behavior. What that means is that every single one of us, if we were not rightly raised from our family, we are going to be a problem in the society. Take a look at what we have today across the continent of Africa. Young men don't know that the things they are doing are erroneous and evil and breaks the society. For instance, doing Yahoo Plus, doing Yahoo, doing cyber crimes, kidnapping, all of these things are as a result of failed parenting. If you look back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you find out that the parents those days had a clear understanding of what were needed to raise a healthy, ethical child in a society that will behave based on the rule of law of that country. Today, it's not much so. As a matter of fact, today, some parents go ahead to buy their children laptops and smartphones and send them off to someone to go do an apprenticeship as a Yahoo boy. That is not something to be smiled for. That is something to be frowned. Normally, parent is the master key that determine how the society thrives. I've said time and time again that if you give me parents, education, which is the academics, and then government, I say, which one do you think has brought more problem to the society? I tell you, this parenting, because parenting is like the bedrock. Parenting is the foundation. Education is the wall. Then government is the roofing. Without foundation, you can have walls. Without foundation, you can't have roofing. And today we are busy blaming the roofing. We forget about the foundation. I tell people that when you see a tree and it is withering, you don't go checking the branches. You don't go checking the leaves. You go and check the taproot. If something has happened to the taproot, the whole tree is gone. When a young man or a young girl is not raised well, properly in the society, the entire society becomes a problem. So without the proper way of parenting, our society can never grow. And the way we are raising our children today is totally flawed. Our young people don't have the sense of responsibilities. All they want is pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. For instance, young ladies today and young men today that gets married know nothing about parenting. They will come back from work and they put your face on television from that time till either bedtime, continuously for years, and they are doing it with their kids. When the kids grow up, they start behaving as though they are robots. They can't properly articulate how the system works and how they can live in order to not become a problem to the society. You see, a lot of our young people, graduates, highly incapacitated, is traceable back home. We know based on scientific evidence that the most paramount aspect of our lives is from age 1 to age 7. That is why Pythagoras said, give me a child until it's 7 and I will show you the man. Knowing what the man will be can easily be detected when he's a kid. The type of program that he has received will aid him for the rest of his life. Today we have people getting married. They don't know nothing about marriage. They don't know nothing about parenting. What they are busy producing children, causing problem upon problem to the society. They are the ones telling their children to do whatever they can in order to succeed. It doesn't matter whether it's wrong or whether it's right. In the olden days, it wasn't so. I remember vividly as I look back on our parents in those days, in the 80s, in the 90s, when you study them closely, in the 70s, in the 60s, you find out that if a young man goes out from the house, maybe from age 25 or beyond, and suddenly comes back with a car, the parent will tell him not to bring that car into that compound until he proves beyond reasonable doubt that it is through his sheer devotion to his skills and expertise that he was able to buy that car. He will never drive that car into his compound. Today, I can ride Lamborghini back home. Nobody is going to ask me, how are you making the money? The parenting system has collapsed, and it has collapsed the system entirely. So let's begin to ask ourselves, what is the proper way to parent in this modern time? How can you think of becoming a parent? You've never read one book on parenting. You've never attended any seminar. You have never been raised by any old woman in the village that shows you how to properly raise kids to adhere to the norms and rules and customs of the culture of your land. Now there are problems to the society. Are you surprised why we have kidnappers? Are you surprised why we have robbers everywhere? Are you surprised why we have Yahoo guys and Yahoo Plus guys, money ritual guys? This is the reason. The parent didn't raise them the right way. It is all about programming. And this is one of the reasons we are going backward. If you go right now to the Jewish people, they still raise their children with the same fundamental basic principle that their ancestors used back 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. Ours has collapsed. And that's why you go to America today, they are one of the most successful people in any field of life. Those are the smallest ethnic group that won the highest number of Nobel Prize. It is not coincidence. It is from whom? We know basically that Jewish people, the way they raise their kids is when they go to school and come back every Friday, you are placed on test by your parent, they will sit back after lunchtime. They will ask you, what did you learn from school today? You explain, and they ask you, what is your view? What do you think about it? How do you interrogate that? All of our life, we were never raised that way. You see why it is very powerful to parent kids the right way. You want to be an Elon Musk. Elon Musk is not a product of what he learned in the university. That's a product of what he learned in the bedroom at home. The parent bought him a computer at the age of, when he was at the age of 10. So he probably had been coding for the past 30 years. You can't beat him, you that started coding 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It doesn't work that way. You see, parenting is the master key to what sustain and builds a society. It was the Russian educator and writer Leo Tolstoy who made a very clear assertion to back this up when he said, everything depends on upbringing. Everything. That's why even the Bible, speaking in Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, he said, raise up these children the way they should grow. He said, when they grow, they will never depart from it. There has been a realization that the old people of the ancient time understood that what you give to your children is what they grow up to become. They don't fall from heaven. The way I behave today, if you go right now and trace the pattern of how my mother behaves, you find part of me in her. You trace my father, you find part of me in my father. I'm not separated. It is most of the things that they wielded in me as a young man that aided me up on this moment. Schools don't teach you values that build society. School teaches you how to read, solve arithmetic, create, innovate. But school does not teach you that it is bad to become a thief. School does not teach you that it is bad to sleep with somebody's wife. You learn this from home. Your parents teach you. Today, how many times do you see young people sit their kids down and teach them this? You can't teach what you don't know. And we are getting married every day, producing children like chicken, causing more problem about problem in the society, and nobody cares about it. You see why we have to start re-articulating the way we parent in the continent of Africa. There are value systems that we should have held tight that we have discarded. Today we are embracing a failed value system. Failure and arrival. Before the value system comes into being, the whole system has collapsed. For instance, you look at someone like Chimamanda, you call her a literary giant. She's good, she's great. But that's part of the things that her parents has programmed her from childhood. It was said that the mother started reading literature to her at a very tender age. If I was born to become a literary giant, it's going to be very hard because nobody has ever thought. I wasn't programmed that way. She was programmed that way. That's how it works. And this is something that the elites of the society have come to understand for time young. They've understood this, and that's why they have a process of raising their children. It's only the elite who possibly came from a poor family and dabbled into money that doesn't know how to raise and condition a child. That's why you see that people brought up in a very respected, highly revered homes don't misbehave. I know most of you will debate me and say, but in African country, this is a son of a senator, this is a son of this, but he's misbehaving. That's a senator that is a dumb. He just gambled on money. He didn't understand parenting. If he did, there was every possibility for him to condition that child to become an asset to the society. And today what you have is nannies raising children in a society. So you go to job, nanny that do not know his or her left and right is the one raising your children for you. What do you expect in a society tomorrow? Parenting. Let's begin to ask ourselves, what are the things needed to raise healthy children in the society? Apparently, if you are not going to be able to train them to be academically sound, know for sure that it is the work of parents that teaches values and ethics to the children. You should not steal. You should not do evil. You should not kill. All these things are learned at home, not school. There's no time for a physics teacher to come into the class and start teaching you that in the society you don't steal. He comes into the class and he starts teaching you about Einstein theory of relativity, E equals mc squared, and he works from there. He's possibly believed that from home you've learned how to be a man of conduct. But look at the society we have. Everything is in perpetual jeopardy because the parenting system has collapsed. and nobody's talking about it. We are all talking about the government. Where did those people in the government came from? They fall from the heaven, or they just appeared from the space? They came from homes. What they are doing there is the programs they receive from home. All their life they have been taught that life is about money, money, money. So they go to become a public servant. They behave as though they are in their personal shop. That's the mentality they learn. That's the programming from home. They don't know that you don't tamper with public funds. They dip into the treasury account and do whatever they like with it. They think this is my right to do it. In reality, they were raised in the wrong way. If their parents have raised them properly, they know that this is stealing. I'm not going to do it. You see why the entire system is in perpetual jeopardy. We must begin to retain that particular superior culture of parenting that happened in the past, that teaches us to be men of conduct in a society. It was recent that we started having a lot of problematic young people. Today we have young ladies go to sell their body in the street because they are hungry. That's not really because they are hungry. That's because they are programmed that way. You say in a stand, you are in the township, go back to the village. Your mother is there. Hungry will not kill you with your mother. It's programmed. A child, a young lady who is properly raised will never do that. It's about parenting. Our parenting system has collapsed and is affecting every facet of our lives in this continent of Africa. We can't continue to do things that is alien, yet drag us backward and believe that somehow by magic we thrive. It was never in your culture to go and sell your body in the street. It was sold to you. And parents did not program you in the right way to practice what I call cognitive dissonance. That this is, I'm rejecting this. We need to begin to pay attention to our parenting. And how do we do that? Get every person that must become a parent to go through a series of courses to learn rules and regulations that guide culture, custom, norms, and the society before he will go to marry. Today, people wake up, they have sex with themselves, they say this thing is good, they go and marry, and they're bearing children every day. The first thing they need to do is at least 6 weeks consistently bombarding them with the rules and regulations and with ethics on how to live a good life in a society. Many of our young people don't know that. I'm glad that I'm part of the people that were raised in the right time. That's why there are so many things I can't do. When I go to township, I see young people try to do Yahoo. They talk that nonsense before me. I feel like punching them. I don't have programs that support that. What you don't have programs that support, you can't do. I can't do Yahoo because I don't have programs that support that. If my father or my mother behaved in a very bad way, anomaly that inspires criminality, I should be able to do that. I should say, no problem, I'm going to do that. I was in school where I lived. Almost every young man is in cultism. I never belonged to one. I didn't have a program that accept that. Those ones there, I'm not better off than them. It's just that the program they received is different from mine. You see, this is how it works. Parenting is the master key. And if we don't begin to pay attention to how we raise our kids in Africa, the future is quite in a state of dystopia. That every single one of us will be here to suffer it. Don't let people get into marriage without taking courses on how to bear and nurture kids in the society. You can't just allow it. When you ask people that say God will raise him, are you kidding me? Is it not the same God that told you to raise these children in the way they should grow? This is why we need to say enough is enough. That we are not doing the right thing in the continent of Africa, and if we must do the right thing, we have to pay attention. Go back and study the culture that produced the men of 70s, 60s, and 50s. How did they live their life? What were the type of programs they received? Let's nurture it on these young people, and you see this thing called Yahoo, kidnapping, and all of this mentality of being a criminal will fizzle away on its own. Don't allow young people to get into marriage without taking the time to understand it properly. It was said in the ancient days that before a man goes to marry, You are first given a pig. That if you can train a pig, we know you can train your wife and train your children. Today we just wake up. My body is strong. I'm now a man. I'm above puberty stage, so I can have sex. I can get married. Stupidity. You are bringing problem to the society. You need to learn first. You need to be deprogrammed from the errors you have absorbed from your peers in the society. I don't know if we really want to build Africa. And I've taken time to be doing videos. It's like series. In that series, what I'm trying to point at what is dragging African people backward. Don't think it's only the government. If you look at my videos these days, it's about pointing fingers to culture, to education, to ignorance. These are the things that is holding us backward. Don't just think it is one thing. No, it is colossal. The problem is that proximity creates blindness. We are proxy about what is happening in the government. So that's why every one of us is focusing there. That's the only problem. That's the only problem. We don't see the error being caused at home by the parents. I tell you that the problem of Africa is systemic problem. And if it is systemic problem, what do? You find a system that produces those symptoms and deal with it. And the system will thrive. Not everything that you are sold to, you will buy. Today, the Europeans are bringing the idea of whatever they call gender, transgender, and whatever dumb stuff to Africa. And you people are buying it. You are swallowing it. Your culture does not permit that. Your culture does not permit. Trash it. I don't care how intellectually sound you are. Trash it. We need to begin to impact our people with our own superior culture. Don't throw away your culture because you want to adopt some Europe. I say adopt scientific method. Leave all of those nonsense they are doing. You want to, very soon they will tell you to go and marry a tree. You will marry a tree. And if you are not programming the right way as a young man from at home or a young girl, you go and do that. You start to have things to do with your same sex. And they said, oh, science has proven. Science might fit. Every science is subjected to custom and norms of the people. Science cannot be more powerful than culture. Every science you see was built on culture. Take the science and make it compatible with your own culture. Don't throw away your culture and buy the science and jeopardize your entire life. It is a time for African people to say, we had our own culture before you came. It is a time for us to say, we will return back to the most powerful culture that our people has practiced and use it to raise our kids. I once read in one of the videos that I did sometimes ago, where one of the Europeans that encountered Africa was explaining that he had never seen a thief in all the places he has been in Africa. In other words, it is an alien mentality that was being programmed into the kids. Mentality. We can return back to those times where they didn't have no thief and start to reprogram our kids in that manner. Don't bring children here and bring problem for us without training them the right way. This is why Africa is going backward. Parenting is part of the reason. And you and I have something to do about it by saying no to error in parenting and by saying yes to introducing a very powerful view, a powerful system that will transform the society in a more positive way. That is what it is. Today you have young people, they don't respect their elders. Do you think it's normal? Program from childhood, their parents nobody thought about respect. Nobody practiced female pieties anymore. Because of what? Program. They only respect those with money. Because that's a modern parenting. Money, practice love and respect only the people with money. If somebody is wise and is not with money, trash him. Mentality, stupidity. It all came from the home. If you are raised well from home, you respect everybody irrespective of whether they have money or not. Everybody's here is not going to become rich. Why are we so dumb to throw away the things we know is of great value and adopt nonsense to replace a value something in a valueless manner? I don't want to stretch myself more on this, but as you can see, there is a scientific backup that I started with, which proves that all of us are programs. All of us are programs. If I want to go and study mathematics now, and I wasn't given the right fundamental, I can't do it. If I had the right fundamental basics, it would be able for me to pick up and move and be one of the best scientists. It's here. If you look across the people who did great inventions, the research they carried out on those people figured out that when they were kids, their parents raised them in a certain manner. It was said that Albert Einstein was given a compass when he was a kid. So even though he flopped school, there was a type of emotion that he developed intelligently when he was a kid, working with those compass. And the rest of his life, he started doing physics. The same thing to Maria Curie. They said that the father had a laboratory, but one day the lady came into there and she was transfixed by the things she saw. She spent her rest of her life in the laboratory. Both of them win another prize. Programming. What are you programming your kids with nonsense things on the television? That's what you're programming them. How a young man have gone to school, graduated, and didn't have a job, is suffering, and so a girl he wants to marry, and the girl is not accepting. All of a sudden, somebody employed him, he bought a car and bought a job, and then the girl accepted. Stupid program, useless program, useless movies is making us go backward. Anyway, I don't want to get angry. Go ahead right now and share this video with your family and friends, and see you in another video. I remain Captain Africa. Ad Astra.